You're all being lied to. For 25 years now, scientists have known that experiencing stressors, toxic environments, toxic people, bullying, racism, government that uses police force against its people, government that punishes to, have us do things, choose the right thing to do. Fear of poverty, fear of homelessness, fear of being sick and not having enough money to pay for the medical expenses. These are actually huge fears that most of us have deep inside us, and these are chronic fears that go on and on inside us for many years. And until now, our culture thought that this was a good thing, that people who are afraid are going to work harder and we're going to be more productive, more creative. No. The reality is, as a trauma counselor, I say this, and as a whistleblower who suffered for 2 years now because of what I've said, this stress causes us to experience brain damage. Basically, parts of our brain gets less blood, and over time those parts die off. We become less able to think clearly, memorize things well, and we become more aggressive, more vindictive, and we die on the average 20 years earlier than people who live without stressors, the same stressors in their lives. Adverse childhood experiences study was done by CDC and Kaiser Permanente in 1995, 1996, and it concluded that there's a very strong relationship between addictions, obesity, heart disease, lung disease, all the comorbidities that got us so worried about COVID-19 were actually preventable diseases, preventable by reducing the stressors in our lives, changing our culture, making our culture, instead of fear-based, a love-based culture, where instead of being afraid of losing things and getting harmed, we're doing things, living life to achieve love, joy, and connection, to get rewards, not fear losing things that are dear to us. So I'm crying because this might be my last video for you guys. I tried to get the word out. I was unfortunately not very successful. I'm going to put as many resources in the description as I can, as my Wi-Fi is coming and going. But research, Blackburn got the Nobel Prize for discovering that chronic stress is reducing the lifespan of caregivers on the average of 20 years. There are studies about civil workers in London, for example. They were dying on the average 20 years earlier, and they had a lot of comorbidities when they didn't love their work and they were doing it just for the paycheck. So we're emotional creatures. Our emotions help us thrive, help us connect with each other. They heal, but they can also destroy us if we don't honor them. And so far our culture is all about just avoiding our needs, avoiding our emotions, and focusing on what we presume is the reality. But really, when was the last time you asked yourself, why does anything need to be the way it is? We've stopped doing that. We stopped asking, do we not have a better technology to do something, for example? I see police officers blocking a bridge, for example, going from Santa Monica downtown to the beach area. And in the era of COVID-19, they're forcing all the pedestrians to, crowd into a 2-person width of area. And you have 4 or 5 people passing through that space while all the main road is blocked off by the police cars. Why? I mean, we have 2 restaurants side by side. One cannot have people eating inside because of COVID-19, and the other one, Starbucks and Subway are what I'm talking about. Starbucks can't have anyone eating inside, but Subway can. How does that happen? If we're all human beings, if COVID-19 is the disease, is the problem, is the reason why we're not eating inside, then how can one restaurant have people eating inside and the other not? We have people on the airplane, for example, crowding in the economy section, side by side, seated, and people who don't or can't pay the extra amount to sit in the business class or the VIP section, where there's nobody there, there's no one sitting there, and nobody asks, aren't we supposed to be seated away from each other? What happened to those rules? Are they only valid in certain spaces and not others? How does that work? We do not ask these questions, and so we've been bullied by governments. We've been bullied. Our government put children in cages, and we said nothing about it. And that's as traumatic as it can get for any child, to be separated from their parents and then to be placed in cages where they can't go anywhere with people, strangers that they've never met before. And these were kids as young as 4 or 5 years old.